Hello, everyone. I'm Greg Weaver. Welcome to The Audio Analyst. Hello, everyone. Today we'll feature the last episode covering my 4-day visit to GTT Audio in Long Valley, New Jersey 2 weeks ago. And we'll focus on one of the most significant, engaging, and important analog products I've ever had the pleasure of experiencing, the KRONOS Discovery Phonostage. I will apologize now for the length of the conversation between Bill Parrish, principal of GTT Audio and Video, and me, as we discussed this seminal, game-changing phonostage, which, over my 5 decades of experience in and around this industry, establishes a new benchmark, and by some margin. This phonostage is the epitome of the expression Sui Generis, a term of Latin origin that means of its own kind. Anything sui generis stands as its own thing. By definition, there is nothing else like it. This is a fitting term to describe the performance of this new flagship phono preamplifier from the mind of Louis Desjardins of KRONOS. Here is that conversation. Hello again. We are still in New Jersey, believe it or not. This time
it's great to have you here for all 3 product launches,
buddy. This has been 4 days of insane fun. But Bill Parrish, GTT Audio, we're here in the big room at GTT. This room is 35 by 21 by 11-ish, 11 and a half. It is one of the, if not the, finest listening space I've ever been in. It's not, or there'll be pictures involved, and you guys have seen the room before, I'm sure. But, dude, we talked about this the other day, the practical treatment, putting record racks at first reflection points,
right,
instead of having all this bullshit on the wall that just, so many people over-treat their rooms.
Well, as I said, there's a lot pretty roomes out there, but you hear a lot of that stuff.
I don't know, the Persian Palace rug's pretty cool. I like it. But anyway, we are now going to talk about what I have considered, and we were talking earlier, I don't use the words sui generis all that often. I did it with Discovery when we did that 2.5, 3 years ago. I did it with Moya.
Yep.
Yeah, because holy shite. But today we're going to talk about, last Easter, if you watched the channel, Louis Desjardins had me up to KRONOS in Montreal, and we covered both the Perpetual and the Discovery launch, the Discovery Phonostage. Now, this is the final Discovery Phonostage, and when I was up there, I had told Louis that it was a new benchmark. And tonight we spoke on the phone a little bit, and he agreed. He goes, Greg, it's changed so much since then.
Exactly.
It's come so much further. But it's 4 pieces.
No, three. 1, 2, 3. This is for...
I'm sorry. Yeah. So we have a left and right mono power supply for the device itself. This is the phonostage. We have, this is the control, this is the actual Discovery turntable with the Discovery RS tone arm, and the KRONOS stand.
Yep, and this is the Discovery stand with the Discovery supercapacitor power supply.
Right.
And then this is the massive AC to DC converter.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, which has an accumulator in there.
It has the accumulator in there for it. Yeah.
And this comes with the table.
Right.
And then if you get the optional power supply, there's a different configuration. Same piece, but you throw some switches and you change some stuff around, and then it drives that.
Interesting, yeah. Now, the one thing that you will see in some of the photos, the phonostage itself has its own independent suspension.
That's right.
These giant rubber rings. I mean, the thing, you saw the pictures, and you can go back and see the launch that we did last Easter area. But this is staggeringly beautiful. It's simple. And back then, I thought it was a benchmark, that it certainly was the finest phonostage I'd heard. And I said at that point that this is the phonostage everybody's going to be compared to.
Yep.
But this is so much more refined from what I heard last April when we were up at Easter. When we were up in Montreal.
It's taken some steps forward. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Now, the whole system will be listed in today's description because this room, as I said, this is, if not the finest, it's certainly among the finest rooms. The setup, the layout, every product in this room, oh my God. I mean, we have a pair of Heisenbergs per speaker. They're biamped. And as I mentioned in the last episode, the Stern Heisenberg are my desert island pieces. If I had choice of anything I could own, it'd be them. But the turntable itself set new standards, and I don't think anything's touched it since. Perpetual is very close. So what we want to talk about today is this device. And Bill, I'm going to let you talk about what you know about the technology in it. And then we're going to talk about what we've heard over the last 3.5 days here. This was a joint project. Louis worked with True Life Audio.
Correct.
In Athens. This has been 3 years in development.
Yes, 3 years.
3 years.
It didn't take him 3 years for Discovery.
Well, that was the COVID lockdown. He built that thing.
Yeah. I mean, he's put his life into all these products.
Oh, absolutely.
But it was 3 years of R&D and prototyping.
Incremental changes.
Yeah. I mean, this, I think we talked about previously, but this started as the KRONOS. This is called the KRONOS Discovery Phono, these 3 pieces.
Right.
And the original concept was to take the KRONOS reference,
yes,
which is still in the lineup,
right,
and upgrade the power supplies, because power supplies are everything. And
one of my rules is the 6 Ps. Piss poor power prevents proper performance.
Well, there you go. So the whole concept initially was to create new power supplies for the reference phono. And then he thought he had some crazy ideas. Yeah. He took it further, like all the turntables that are fully hung. His patent is on a fully hung counter-rotating turntable. Right. This is fully hung, as you mentioned. Yeah. It's totally suspended. It is a all-tube unit, all new old stock tubes. Yeah. It has different inputs. You can, and then you can switch between cartridge outputs and gains. That's in the back. Then there's a mute on there. I don't know. I think they can pick this up in the camera.
I think so. And I'll have close-ups.
And then you've got an EQ here. We're set on neutral, but you have a low-frequency cut, another low-frequency cut. You can do a high-frequency, 2 different high-frequency cuts. Then inside, there's some switches. First of all, it is, and Dick and I had talked about this in our showroom tour.
Dick Diamond, he's also with GTT.
And there's, it's 100% compatible with everything. There's a lot of times phonostages have grounds. Sure. I mean, you heard how silent this is.
Oh my God.
There's little dip switches inside for different grounding schemes. So it's
going to be compliant with whatever you choose to use it with.
Whatever you choose to use it with, you're going to have different positions on your grounding based on how AudioNet or TLA or VAC or Audio Research or D'Agostino or whatever system you're using it with. Everybody does their grounding a little different.
Yep.
This takes care of that. There's also a couple of other switches in there for different curves, really for compatibility issues.
Sure.
So it's 100% compatible, which is really nice. So there's a lot of tweaks in there.
But that's more for the initial setup. It's not something you're going to use every day.
No, you do this one time.
You get it set up and it's done.
One time, but
But it's versatile enough to be compatible with whatever gear you're using. You can tweak it so that it's going to be as quiet and as useful as possible with whatever you're using.
It keeps perfect phase even when you're doing what they call the EQ, which usually screws with phase.
Yeah, I guess.
But if you're using a Dynaflex and it's super thin, and then you get that little thinness.
We're going to talk about that later.
Yeah, you get that little thinness, and then
you
just do a little high cut.
Yeah.
And now you get that full-bodied record. It's really cool. But all this is fun stuff.
Yeah.
Like you said, initial setup.
Yeah.
The real thing is the listening.
Listening.
And
Oh my
what
God.
we've been able to hear.
Oh my God. First, I'm going to tell you right now, we've had a couple experiences in this room. One of our last plays last night about 10 o'clock.
Oh.
And then this afternoon down here for about 4 hours, 3.5, 4 hours. There are no words I'm going to be able to use. This experience has been, I mean, we both love Dire Straits.
Yep.
And we've done a bunch of Dire Straits. But last night, we played Private Investigations from the Mobile Fidelity reissues. These were the original master recordings that came out about 4 years ago. And they're probably some of the best work Mo-Fi's ever done, in my opinion.
I think so too.
Yeah. But we sat here and were speechless. I mean, we were dumbfounded. We couldn't, hair was standing, we could not talk. It was fabulous. Now
we were pretty jacked up.
So it goes without saying that there's a degree of precision here in terms of its ability to resolve everything that Discovery can uncover, and Discovery's ability to the first time I heard it, we talked about it on camera, and I said that it was more like hearing a mic feed than hearing a record. I honestly felt in some ways it was better than open reel tape playback, depending on the recording, obviously.
Sure.
Every record's going to be different. But this has been such an experience. The way I tried to describe it was the sense of utter nothingness between the music, between the recording and the performance you're listening to. It was a daunting experience. I mean, it's an otherwise unprecedented listening experience in a way that compares to nothing that I have heard in my 50 years in and around this industry. Now, look, nobody's heard everything, okay? You want to say, oh, well, we've not heard everything. You're right, I haven't. But I'll guarantee you've
heard a lot.
I've heard a shite load of stuff, and I've heard it at shows, in private showings, in homes, in demonstrations, in stores. This has been first of all, this room has always been fabulous. And when you were using other phonostages that were excellent, that I've actually reviewed and dealt with, that were excellent, this added another layer of not just resolution, not just a more transparent reveal of what's on the recording, but it's got an elevated sense of emotional engagement. You're hearing the interplay between the artists. You're hearing the emotions that they're trying to share. You're hearing the experience. I mean, we heard things, and dude, we've done everything from classical to Dire Straits, from grunge to rock and roll.
We threw the book at it. We went through every genre, and we were just going back to old favorites that we grew up with, and things that you've been here many times, and we've never listened to before, and then we just start thinking of things and pulling it out, cleaning the record, and putting it on, and we could. I mean, everything was the best we had ever heard it.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. Yes, we did some audiophile recordings.
Of course.
We did some classical performances that you've played for me that are just remarkably well done. The one reference I've used since the mid-'70s has been that the Beethoven's Ninth by Schulte and the CSO from 1971 or 72, I think it is. And I've heard that on half a dozen systems now, I think. But
you think?
Yeah, it's the quality that what they captured on that recording, we felt today in a way that there's no words I can use to explain it. It was as if we were in the studio with them, in the concert hall with them, as they were capturing the mic feeds. This does not sound like playback.
No.
This sounds like music.
It did not sound like a recording.
Yeah.
We were there.
Yeah,
we were there. We were there with Dire Straits. We were there with the
That
Chicago
David Bowie.
Symphony. We
God.
were there with David Bowie. We were there with all these recordings.
And look,
at these recordings.
Most of you guys who follow the channel know I'm a classic rock, progressive rock, classic rock. Now, Bill and I happened to hit off on a few bands that we love. And like he was saying, we've listened to all kinds of, like last night he said, hey, do you like this? I'm like, I love it. So we found his original first pressing. We cleaned it. We have both shat our pants
Well, it was hurt. Yeah.
Dreamboat Annie.
Dreamboat Annie.
Yeah, the original mushroom press, the Kendon press.
That was just...
It was staggering.
I've listened to that but I haven't listened to that in years.
Well,
it was the first time hearing it on this system.
Well, and I told you, in 76, some of the first audio shows that I covered, you'd walk into a room and everybody was playing Magic Man or Crazy on You. I mean, that was playing in every room in that summer, right? But we heard it for the first time together, and it was like, holy shit. We're like, that's Ann Wilson's voice. That's what that's Nancy playing that shit. Oh my God.
That guitar
it was fabulous. Incredible. And I'm not just picking on that record, but I wanted to use something that is not considered an audiophile treasure, but is a rock masterpiece. Mm-hmm. I mean, let's face it. Dreamboat Annie it changed everything. It was the first.
But it did not sound like a recording.
It did not. It sounded like we were in the studio with those guys.
Yes.
It was fabulous. I mean, there's a level of clarity here. And I don't mean that it's not some code word to say, oh, it's edgy or it's brittle or it's bright or it's detailed.
It's something that you have to literally experience because words are not going to describe it.
It's natural at the same time that it's more revealing than anything you've ever heard. But there's a neutrality and a naturalness and a rightness of bloom and body and texture and space. I mean, I'm sorry, guys. You have to hear this to understand just how bloody good it is. This is world-class stuff. If you are someone who really cares about your music and understanding what the artist was trying to accomplish and trying to say, and hearing, some of these small jazz combos, I mean, these guys are looking at each other's eyes and playing with each other back and forth. You sense that. You not only hear it, you sense it. You're part of that relationship that they shared while they were making the recording.
Absolutely.
And this is what makes world-class equipment, okay? And Louis has been, I met Louis, I knew about him. I think you brought me the KRONOS Sparta in 2015. That's when I got the Sparta.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, I didn't meet Louis till 2017. I met him in Munich the first time I went to the Munich show. Now, I've known this man going on 8 years now. He's a maniac. He's a total maniac. But he thinks in ways that have nothing to do with how can I make more money. He thinks with how can I get back to the music? And the Pro was the first thing.
Yeah.
The first time I heard it at a show was the first show they did with Lamb upstairs at the Venetian back in 2011, 2010, somewhere back there. It was when he first introduced the Pro at CES.
Maybe even 12, yeah.
Yeah, it was early 2000s. And it was in the Lamb room, and I knew Vlad. I had a great time in that room, and it was staggeringly good. Now, I started with the Sparta. And you were nice enough to let me upgrade to the Pro when they started turning in on Discovery purchases.
Correct.
I've got this arm, this resonance suppression tone arm. I did a special on those too because the technology he uses isn't just different. When you look at what he's done and the way he's done it, you're like, it's like the contra rotation thing. Why didn't somebody do this before? I mean,
well. He got a patent on the
contra rotation
on the tables.
Yeah.
Back with the Pro and everything, that encompasses all his tables.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know it, but on the Discovery RS arm, that patent's been granted as well.
I knew it was pending. I did not know it.
No, it's been granted.
Yeah. And it's that arm.
So he's doing things no one else has done.
He really is. And I'm sure a lot of people say that. Okay, look, there are a lot of good designers today. I'm not trying to say other designers aren't good.
No.
What I'm trying to say is that Louis' approach is unique in my experience in that he's not just trying to build a better mousetrap. He's not trying to just get you to spend money. He's trying to share his passion because, dude, he's all about the music too. I've been to his home a number of times and we listen the same way you and I listen. We go away, like, it's not about, did you hear this?
Every time you've been there, yeah. No, yeah.
So,
I mean, when we talk about 3 years of development, it's 3 years of constant development. It's not work on it for a week and shelve it and then go back and work on it 6 months later.
He lives with this in his listening room at home.
Exactly.
And he listens to this anytime he's awake and in the room. This is on.
This is tweaking what he's doing and coming up with different ideas. absorbing it for a little while, thinking of another idea.
And
he's tried so many different
the
things.
partnership with TLA has been remarkable, because I don't know that either party could have done this on their own. They both brought certain strengths to this project.
Oh, for sure.
That make it, in a way, it is a superb collaboration. It was mostly driven by Louis' passion and by Manos's engineering skills with some of the electronics. But again, probably the best implementation of a tube phonostage I can think of. There's one other phonostage that I like, maybe close to this. But this thing has redefined for me what a phonostage can do. I swear to you, people, again, nobody's heard everything, but I've heard enough that I can tell you with great confidence, this is the phonostage that people are going to have to try to beat now, in terms of its utter performance, its total clarity, its dead silence, its versatility. I mean, it's functional as hell.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty too. I actually kind of I like the lights. I like the layout. I love the knobs that match the turntables.
It's so cutting edge, yet it's retro.
Yeah, it does have that retro look. Yeah. And I kind of like that.
I never dreamed of hearing a record anything like what we heard.
Dude, it sounds like Mike. It does not sound like a recording. Not record
he delivered. I mean, I've heard this through every iteration.
Yeah.
And we delivered a couple to clients before I received mine. And I received mine. Louis and I did a video. When was that? In November. Dick and I did a video with a walkthrough. We discussed it. But playing this, I mean, it has taken a few steps forward.
Yeah. As it's running in and settling in.
As it's running in, as the TLA sets are breaking in, burning in, the big transformers.
Yeah.
TLA winds all their own.
Well, they were a transformer company in the 1920s, right? I mean, they started building products for military and hospitals and industry, phone companies and things.
I guess that's something that we could say is there's nothing stock in here.
Yeah.
You can't go buy.
You can't go buy the parts off a shelf somewhere.
You can't go order these step ups from anywhere. This is all custom made to Louis specs by TLA.
Yeah. It's an absolute look. I'm waxing on ridiculously, but there's a reason. You guys, those of you who do know me or have followed the channel or my work for years, I don't get this enthused about everything I do. It's only a handful of products over the years that have made me go Sui Generis. This thing, you can quote me. This is the phonostage that every other phonostage will need to be compared to for some time to come. I can't see how this is going to get beaten anytime soon. I just can't. It's fabulously engaging. It's excitingly musical. It's real. It's natural. It's just an experience you have to hear. And if you want to do that, you just call this guy and he'll have you. You can come by and give him a listen.
Exactly.
Now, will this be going to AXPONA? I know
we are going to show this at AXPONA
with the perpetual, with the new audio nets,
with the Mach and Schrodinger,
and then
Vivid speakers,
the big Vivid, the Spirits,
Kabbalah Sosna cables, the Master Fidelity and
digital
Nate
gear,
D and C. And so we're gonna be putting on a show there.
And AXPONA's middle of April.
It's going to be special, as special as a show can be.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm going to be there. Mr. Parrish, thank you so much for having me in for this. It's been such a blast.
Appreciate it, Greg.
I hope you guys get a chance to hear this because it's something remarkable. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk again soon.
Take care.
Thanks again, Bill, for your hospitality and passion and for putting up with me for so many hours of proactive listening. Now, as you may have gathered from this conversation, the experience of listening at great length and across the widest, most taxing cross-section of music was the uncontested highlight of my visit. The system in the large room, some 35 by 21 by 11.5 feet, is fronted by the KRONOS Discovery turntable, powered with its optional supercapacitor power supply, using the Discovery resonance suppression tone arm, fitted with the MySonic Labs signature platinum moving coil cartridge, all feeding this exceptional KRONOS Discovery Phonostage. And it afforded me what was simply the most engaging, authentically musical, downright hypnotic performance that I've ever had the experience of hearing. This highly versatile and retro attractive phono preamplifier has two control knobs, one each to the left and right of its central backlit display, and two push buttons to its lower right. The left knob controls the selection of either of its two inputs and muting, while the right knob offers equalization adjustments. It is a 5-position switch offering two differing low-frequency cutoffs, a centered neutral selection, and then two different high-frequency cut options. The two switches control the display on and off and its brightness. And trust me, after a blind demonstration of the effect, turning off the front panel illumination does make for an even more compelling listen. On its back are two selectors for the step-up transformers for each of its two inputs. Internal dip switches allow for other customization of loading and grounding methods. And finally, this preamplifier is powered by two massive, superbly regulated, completely separate power supplies in their separate chassis, each with its own AC supply, switch, and connection umbilical. While it should be obvious that no one will have heard every phonostage under every condition in every conceivable configuration, I would also hope that it would be just as obvious that over my more than 5 decades of listening and more than 35 years of writing about that experience, that I have had considerably more exposure to such products and circumstances than, honestly, all but a handful of other industry professionals. As such, when I tell you that in my experience, the KRONOS Discovery Phonostage represents a once-in-a-decade realization, you should have a clear understanding of just how significant I find its performance to be. In terms of its ability to be starkly silent and to resolve and present pitch definition down into the subsonic strata, I had never even dared to imagine that any phono preamplifier might routinely deliver such an exceptionally refined level of performance. Its accomplishments in this regard alone establish a new benchmark. Add to this its ability to regenerate exceptionally faithful timbre, its effortlessness, naturalness, and highly nuanced expressiveness, especially its ability to render microdynamic shading and detail, and its utterly enchanting capability to portray authentic tonality, engaging texture, and the physical corporality of human and instrumental voices, and you only begin to get a sense of its prowess. The unmatched and consistent sense of utter nothingness between the performance, the recording, and your experience of that recreation, more as a live event than that of hearing a recording being played back, is daunting. It is an otherwise unprecedented listening experience, unmatched even closely by any other analog system I've heard in all my time in and around this industry. After all my attentive and considerable time listening to Louis Desjardins' world-class, defining 3-box KRONOS Discovery Phonostage, it has become clear to me that this phono preamplifier not only establishes a conspicuous and indisputable new benchmark, but has taken its place as the absolute reference in its product class against which all other phonostages must be compared. In closing today, I will remind you that, as Bill mentioned in our conversation, the lion's share of this system, featuring this groundbreaking phonostage, will be shown at AXPONA, the largest, most significant industry show in the United States, to be held in Schaumburg, Illinois, at the Renaissance Hotel and Convention Center from April 11th through the 13th. I urge you to visit AXPONA in general and to attend the GTT exhibit specifically. I assure you, you will not regret doing so. As always, thank you for taking the time to drop by today. Further information on supporting the channel may be found in today's description section or at my website, theaudioanalyst.com. Please stay safe and keep the music playing. Till next time, cheers.